do high converting websites do that perhaps you don't? And what is a high converting website anyway? How would you even know? Well, if you're like many small business owners and solopreneurs that I've worked with over the years, you don't stop and consider your homepage or the performance of your website in general. It's highly likely that if you aren't applying more advanced marketing strategies to your website or your online marketing strategy in general, your website's homepage is doing the heavy lifting. And if this is the case, it's best to ensure that you optimize your homepage for conversions, as it is typically the highest viewed page on your website as well. So I invite you to take some action this week and see if you can't optimize that homepage of yours for better conversions. And I'm going to give you some simple ways to go about that today. But before we begin, my name is Liz Garcia. I'm your happy, insightful, and perceptive host of AthenaArenaRadio.com. Welcome to episode 15 of the Athena Arena podcast, the content and digital marketing strategy academy for aspiring 6, 7, and 8-figure, what I call Wonder Woman brands, and mastering your inner game. And for all you brilliant men out there, don't be fooled by the whole Wonder Woman thing. This is meant for you too. So let's get to today's topic. I'm going to give you a little background so you understand where this content is coming from that I'm sharing today. I've been a digital marketer and search engine optimization expert and WordPress web designer since 2009. And I like to follow other highly regarded digital marketing experts. And one of the gentlemen I like to follow his name is Neil Patel. That's NEILPATEL.com. You can check out Neil and all that he does at his website on his website. And I follow him because he's one of the most successful digital marketers in the world. And today's podcast is based on some really valuable information I curated from one of Neil's posts. He's a New York Times bestselling author and was recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama. And I saw a video of him getting his award around his neck by President Obama. He's also a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 35 by the United Nations. And the recognition of this came back in 2015 or so. So it's been a while, but suffice it to say he's grown significantly since. And I've been following him for years. And his backstory is he started as a teenager, as an SEO expert, and wanted to get into digital marketing and build his own websites and all this stuff. So that's how he got into it. And kids, teenagers, they're like, once they get onto something, then they become success. They really grab a hold on it and they go. And he's been hugely successful in all that he does. And he's built, I think he has 4 different digital marketing related companies. And they're all super data driven. So he collects enormous amounts of digital data and compiles it to share with all of us in his blog posts and videos, which you can find on YouTube and on his website. So I'm just curating this kind of stuff for you because most of my listeners or clients are like deer in a headlight when it comes to looking at data, which I particularly love to look at because I love to implement things that are just working. It's like, hey, why reinvent the wheel? Let's go with what's working right now. And it's hard to do all the testing and split testing that bigger companies can do. It takes time and effort and money for sure to get into the whole split testing thing, which we'll talk about in a second. So today I've consolidated some of the key points just for you so that you can get started with some of the stuff that he recommends, of what's working today in 2023. So let's get started with some homepage conversion basics. What's a good conversion rate for your website? And according to billions of data points compiled from Neil's companies across hundreds, if not thousands of industries, you should land at 2 to 5% conversion rate on your website. So And if you hit over 10%, you're over the average and on the right track with converting your offers. So that's the basics. So let's do a little math. Do you even know what type of website traffic you have coming to your website? You might want to take a look at it. And if you have, if you hired someone to do your website, when I create websites, I typically set them up for Google Analytics, even though they'll probably never look at it. Down the line, they may look at it, and they may hire a marketing company to run ads for them, which you really need to be hooked up to Google Analytics to do this, because you want to see what's going on there. So hopefully you have a Google Analytics account set up that you or your website designer may have set up for you, that you can go take a look at, like, what's going on there. And it can be a little overwhelming to understand, but there's some basic analytics right when you log into your dashboard that you can just say, okay, how many people a month are looking at my website? How many pages are they coming to? You can look at all that type of good stuff. So most small business websites that do nothing for their online marketing, like they don't keep up with their site, they don't add new content, and they aren't running any type of paid ads, typically. So from my experience, because I host many websites, 500 page views would be a lot for most small business a month. That's not a lot. So if you do the math on that, a 2% conversion rate on 500 views a month would be 10 conversions a month. And a 5% conversion rate, that's 25 conversions a month. Just so you know. And if you're not doing that, then you need to work on your website a little if you want to. You may have other ways. If you got enough referrals and you don't need to spend the money doing this, then don't. So there's the basic math of it, and you can go and look at your page analytics. And if you have a WordPress website, like all of my clients do, because that's what I do, I install what's called a Jetpack plugin, which gives you your site stats, and that's a much easier thing to digest and understand. You can just take a quick look at page views there, like how many pages are people looking at and what pages are they looking at. And when I look at site stats, and I've heard about others speak about it, that homepage is typically one of the highest viewed pages overall. It's not true, though, if you're doing some more advanced digital marketing. So, before I get into the details of what is proven to help boost conversions on your website, I want to highlight a few points to get you thinking first. And these are bullet points from Neil Patel's blog post, which I will provide a link to that in the show notes so you can go look at it for yourself and grab the information there or review it again there too. So the first point that I know is huge, and I've known this for years because I had problems with websites not loading fast, and I finally figured it out. I'm not a developer, so figuring out how to fix problems is not my strong suit, but I have managed to find ways to solve this problem. So you have 0 to 8 seconds to make a compelling headline and landing page for your homepage. After 8 seconds, the majority of visitors leave. And I used to come across a stat that said it was 3 seconds. And maybe what you got to think about is if you go to the top of your website, you need a killer headline and a killer sub-headline to grab your ideal customer's attention right off the bat. That's 3 seconds. You got to grab their attention with that first block of text or image or whatever it is to grab, or video. Otherwise, they're out of there. And typically, I'm not going to go into this now because we'll talk about this. I think next week we're going to talk more about something that's called core vitals. And in Google's algorithm, one of the core vitals is that page speed. How well does your website deliver a clean, easy to use, simple user experience for the website? And page loading is huge. So approximately 96% of visitors that come to your website aren't ready to buy. So with this in mind, you're losing a lot of website traffic if you don't offer something of value right away to them. What can you offer of value that they can take with them right away and not forget you? Like forget that it even came to your page. They're not bookmarking your page. What are you going to do to grab their attention so that now you can start a conversation with them and nurture relationships, right? That's what a lead magnet is. And if you are like me out shopping online over Christmas, every website that I went to had a pop-up discount ready and raring to go. So if you want to see if you're an e-commerce or product seller, you sell products or services even, you could offer a one-time discount. That seems to convert well for product-based websites. I'm not sure about service-based website. I think there's other ways to go about that. And I would, if I were you, I'd visit big companies. What are they doing? They have the money and the marketing power to test tons of stuff to see what's working. And we'll talk about some of those websites in a minute. So there's that. You got to think about that. Like, is it realistic to expect everyone that comes to your website to want to buy? Hell no. And there's your stat right there. They're not even ready. They're just kind of fishing around. They're at the top of the funnel. They're kicking tires and checking you out. Here's another thing to consider. The more landing pages you have, the more leads you're likely to get. And I haven't done my podcast on landing pages, but suffice it to say, you're going to have customers that are on different parts of the journey that they can take with you. And you want to create a specific landing page for each part of the journey as an example, right? So, for instance, on the Athena Arena, the ultimate journey with me is that I'm going to build a digital content strategy for you. I'm going to build your website, and we're going to plan what the online marketing strategy is going to be down the line. That's just one example. And some people may not be ready for all. They may already have a website, and they just may need to optimize that website for search. So there's one specific customer that doesn't need a website. They just need me to help them get found because maybe they did it on their own, or they hired a website company that only did design. They didn't do search engine optimization, that type of thing. Or maybe you have search engine optimization, you have your website done, but you're not generating leads, and you've created a lead magnet that doesn't convert. This again is another topic. We're going to talk about that one soon, the lead magnet thing. And it all goes back to that initial number one thing that I spoke about in online marketing is doing keyword research, because everything is search driven. Start where the data is. That's my recommendation. So there's many places along your sale journey people can have with you where you got to be more specific with them because they're not ready to do the big brand overhaul, content strategy, launch into a paid ad campaign type of thing, which is all of the things that I can do and do for customers. I'm pulling back on that. But just, understand that you got to have a landing page for each one of those prospects, and that home page could have a little block about each one of those starter points. And you go like, where are you at on the journey? Are you here? Are you there? And then you guide them to the next page. So next on something that you need to consider is that product videos can increase purchases of the product by 144%. And in general, videos on any sort of landing page, another statistic I've seen, has increased the conversion rate of that page by 86%. So if you're not doing videos yet, I highly recommend you're going to see a real boost when you start doing videos and implement it into part of your strategy. This is a good one. This goes back to the site speed. A 1 second delay in your site speed can result in a 7% reduction in conversions. That's pretty huge. And finally, this is more of an advanced marketing skill, but you need to become aware of that if you're going to go into any type of paid strategy or want to optimize your lead magnets or conversions on your homepage or any landing page, what's called A/B testing is becoming the preferred method that has brought a lot of companies the most success. And what that is you're split testing different aspects of your homepage as an example. So, and we're going to talk about this in a second. So just an example, that headline at the top of your website, you want to test that. Test different variations of it, which you can do with particular software, which is where it gets a little more complicated. But you can split test those and split test landing pages. I use something for WordPress called Thrive Themes, where I can split test entire pages, especially home pages as an example. I can split test headlines of blog posts. I can split test lead magnets. All of this stuff can be tested, and when you realize that some things convert at significantly higher rates than others, then you're like, hell yeah, I got to do that, because you're going to save time and money and effort. Okay, so let's get to 5 top things for high converting websites that Neil has compiled. And again, he's been doing it for decades. He's got billions of data points, thousands of clients. He's collecting all this great stuff and understanding. So, number 1, top 5 things high converting websites do is that they make their unique value propositions clear right at the top of the page. That's what I'm talking about. The very top of the page, you're going to hit them with a headline that's clear and concise and to the point. And visitors should clearly see on your homepage or landing page why they should do business with you and the benefits of doing so right away. And I'm going to just give you a couple examples that Neil compiled. MailChimp is a email service provider that I use, and I've used them for quite a while now. If you go to MailChimp.com, you'll see, at least maybe not right now, I think I did see this when I went there because I wanted to check it. The top headline, surrounded by white, no pictures, there's a picture below. The top headline says, turn emails into revenue, period. Win new customers with the #1 email marketing and automations brand that recommends ways to get more opens, clicks, and sales. This is an excellent example of a unique selling proposition that's concise, to the point, with not having to explain too much, right? So I want you to take a look at, here's another website. Let's see, this is another website. Let's see what he's got, something. If you go to big marketing websites, you're going to get great ideas because they're split testing everything to death. Marketers know how to refine things. If you go to something like HubSpot.com, they're a huge digital marketing platform. Kajabi.com, this is good. I recommend Kajabi to solopreneurs and coaches and people that want to build, a coaching platform or deliver digital courses. So visit places, marketing websites, right, or big brand names and see what they're doing, because they have the team and the know-how and the expertise to optimize those landing pages and the top banner for conversions. And you'll see how super simple the homepage website is, and super simple their unique selling proposition is. So that's number 1. This is what comes out in the branding process. When you really get into, you understand you got to go through the branding process for your company. This is type of content and messaging is developed during that process, which is not to say you can't do it right now and right off the top of your head, like start testing some stuff. You can test it in social media if you have a good social media following. You can do a survey on different headlines. What grabs you? What's grabbing you as a customer? Send it out in an email survey too. What really grabs you? Okay, so number 1 is they make their unique value proposition clear. There's no guessing. if you go to theathenaarena.com, my value proposition is supercharge your business with a Wonder Woman brand. It speaks volumes, and it's speaking to my ideal clients. Like, I want to supercharge my business with a Wonder Woman brand and help people develop a content strategy and a brand strategy in order to do that. That's my unique selling proposition there, which I'm going to work on now that I've gone through this, read Neil's post. And then my other website, the mindbodyspiritnetwork.com, my unique selling proposition is raise your consciousness on a wide variety of topics and be the change you want to see in the world. And you'll discover consciously created and curated content for a spiritually awakening world. So I sell online courses, webinars, I curate personal development and spiritual growth stuff. This is speaking to that audience. Again, I think I could work on this personally. Work on split testing the headlines for this particular page, because I've seen other ones I could be more concise and more kind of benefit driven. Okay, next is high converting website homepage or websites test their calls to action and meet people where they are, which is kind of what I just suggested about that landing page. You gotta speak to different aspects of your audience. Not everyone is ready to buy the whole kahuna, for sure. Maybe they just need a little starter kit to get them in the door. And at the Athena Arena, I have called what's a business awareness boost, which is just a simple starter kit to understand, like, what's the landscape of your business, what's the search volume looking like, are people looking for someone like you, just kind of laying the foundation for the basics is where people usually, I like to start people because they're all beginners anyway. So HubSpot, which is a huge marketing company, and my nephew and his wife worked for HubSpot for many years. They're hugely successful, and they're a customer relationship management software similar to MailChimp, but more advanced, more enterprise level, which is not to say small businesses aren't using them these days either. But HubSpot did a study and reported that personalized calls to action converted over 202% better than basic calls to action. So what they're saying is, to get personal with users, you need to meet them where they are in the funnel. And a sales funnel is, are they at the top of the funnel, meaning they're kicking the tires, just doing a little research? Are they in the middle of the funnel where they're really ready to get engaged with maybe a sales call? Or at the bottom of the funnel where they're ready to buy? So there's different parts of the journey that you want to meet people at on that homepage. And it could be delivered in the form of a quiz. So because people love to know where they're at, they like to be told things about themselves. And that quiz would then send them down a sales funnel that's different than one who's ready to buy. So this is going back to that landing page. You really got to think about the journey that you're taking people on. Where could they be at in the journey? And make sure you have a place for everybody. Not everyone's going to be ready to pull the trigger on a high-end buy-in, that's for sure. And then testing headlines. This is huge. Testing headlines is huge. And Neil Patel is a huge headline tester. And my software, my Thrive Themes, has opportunities to test everything, which is why I love it. And it's a WordPress plugin that I use for my marketing. And it's a little more advanced for people to use. And I know people that have used it, but they've hired someone else to manage it for them. It's not to say you couldn't do it yourself, for sure, but it's more advanced, and it enables you to split test headlines for sure. Again, split test your lead magnets, the design of a page, the color of a button, everything. Images, I test images all the time. Everything can be tested. So that's a huge thing to consider, especially when you're testing your unique selling proposition, test that. Like I just told you on MailChimp, it's turned emails into revenue. I bet you they've tested the hell out of that thing and they keep testing. You find a winner, but you keep testing. Okay, next on his list, that was number 3. Number 4 is for their opt-in forms. When someone asks you for your email and they're going to give you something in exchange, those opt-in forms tend to be really short. And according to data that I've read, if you don't ask for a first name, the opt-in rate goes up. But I think there's something you got to consider. Are they really going to be your ideal customers? If they're just trying to get whatever that freebie is, they don't want to engage with you. They don't want to give you their first name anyway, because they're going to opt out once they get what they want. So something to consider testing. Test, the engagement rate of people that give you their first name versus people that don't. I typically want the first name, but I don't require it. But again, the shorter that opt-in form is, the less information you request, typically the better, but you got to consider your business. If you want to see people that are highly engaged and want to do business, they're interested in what you're doing, you can ask for a little bit more and they'll be glad to give it to you because they want your help. So that's something you can test. Again, you can test that in the Thrive themes that I use, and I know other opt-in forms you can there's other opt-in form and WordPress plugins that you can use. MailChimp has their own opt-in forms. ConvertKit is another email service provider that you can create landing pages with and opt-in forms. Well, you can test how many fields that you have in there, and they'll split test it and see which one converts best. But again, are they as engaged when they give you less information? I don't know. You got to test it. Consider your audience and consider who you want to work with. Personally, I want someone who wants to give me their first name and, if warranted, their phone number or, cell phone so I can text them or do whatever. Okay. Lastly, on number 5 on the list is that their sites are built to convert. And they're pretty obvious right away. A high converting website is pretty obvious because they have very good UX design. UX is short for user experience. And they're very well configured to work on desktop and mobile and have a fast load time. So again, go to websites that are big businesses and have big marketing departments. Take a look at those websites. Like when I go to service-based providers like MailChimp or who else do I? Kajabi. These are marketing websites that would be useful to you. ConvertKit. I'm going to try interact.com, which is a quiz building websites for generating leads. They have super clean websites. There's not a lot going on. It's super simple. So you can get more involved on a link to another page, but keep that home page and most of your website super simple. And where you would get into more involved pages would be in blog pages, in my experience. That's where I'd spend time optimizing for search is on the blog posts, and then optimizing for user experience on my sales pages and service pages, that type home page for sure. Which is not to say that blog post still needs to be clean, user-friendly, but it's typically going to be a larger form content. So Neil has shared some of the highest converting websites. So what are they? He answers this question. Some of the highest converting websites understand user experience well and work to link it to landing sales. And some high converting websites of note are Instacart. This is the ones that Neil probably works with. Something called Moxie, M-O-X-E, and MailChimp. So you can go visit all of those home pages and really study them and go back to what I shared with you today. So there you go. A little homework assignment for you. You could tackle one of those a week. to beef up that homepage website of yours. I hope you found this episode of the Athena Arena podcast helpful. This one is what I would call the foundational basics for your online success. And again, I'm going to provide a link to Neil's post in the show notes below so you can get into more details. And I'm going to compile for you some other curated high converting tips. So it's going to be like a high converting tips to generate more leads. I haven't thought this through. Sorry. But I do want to get some sort of freebie out there for you. So I'll have a link to get this high converting tips and techniques that you can try. And I'll curate more than a dozen or so so you have something to work with that and lots of different options that you may feel more comfortable doing than others. So if you go to the athenaarena.com/HC tips, that's high converting tips, you'll get a checklist, just a little cheat sheet that you can use. That's a quickie for you. So that's the athenaarena.com/HC tips. And hopefully you'll find those super useful. Next week, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but we'll see you then. Thanks for joining me today.